The grand chamber of the Galactic Council shimmered with light from 100 different suns. Holographic banners of countless civilizations floated above their delegates, each symbol glowing with pride and authority. For most species gathered there, this was simply another meeting, another judgment, another vote. But for one world, Earth, it was the day that would decide if their story continued or ended forever. At the center of the chamber, in a transparent dome of energy, stood the representatives of humanity. They were not dressed in armor or carrying weapons. They wore simple uniforms marked with the flags of their home planet, now bound together under one emblem, a single blue circle symbolizing their shared world. Ambassador Elena Marquez stood at the front of the group. Her heart pounded, but her face remained calm. She had spent her life studying diplomacy, learning alien languages, and building bridges between cultures. Yet nothing in her training had prepared her for this, the moment when all of humanity would be weighed like a scale of judgment. A booming voice filled the chamber. It belonged to High Speaker Raul Tor, the insectoid chair of the council. His mandibles clicked sharply as he spoke. Species of the council, we gather to decide the fate of Earth. The humans have expanded into space. They show ambition, creativity, but also unpredictability. Records show wars among themselves, destructive weapons, and dangerous curiosity. The question stands, do we allow them to remain among the stars, or do we remove the risk before it grows? Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some delegates nodded in agreement while others looked uneasy. Humanity's reputation had traveled faster than their ships. Elena raised her voice, calm but firm. Esteemed council members, humanity does not deny its past. Yes, we have fought wars. Yes, we have made mistakes. But we also have hope. We also have unity, art, compassion, and courage. Judge us not only by our scars, but by how we rise from them. Give us a chance to prove what we can be. For a moment, silence followed. But soon the arguments began. A reptilian delegate hissed in anger. The humans are dangerous, even in their infancy. They built weapons that could destroy their own world. Imagine what they will build in 100 years. They are a threat to all of us. A crystalline being from the far reaches of the galaxy pulsed with light. Yet they are inventive. Few species rise from one world so quickly. Their creativity could be valuable. Another, from the aquatic Serene Confederacy, waved a fin. Valuable, yes, but unpredictable. Can we risk the safety of thousands of civilizations for one young race? The debate stretched on for hours. Humanity's ambassadors could do nothing but listen, hope, and wait. Finally, the moment came. The council would vote. One by one, delegates cast their decision. The chamber filled with symbols glowing red for destruction, green for mercy. As the votes tallied, Elena's heart sank. The reds outnumbered the greens. Humanity's end was certain. Then a voice spoke. It was soft, melodic, and ancient. The delegate of the Elthari, a race older than nearly all others, rose from their seat. Their forms shimmered like living silver, tall and graceful, with eyes that glowed faintly as if holding the light of stars. We, the Elthari, cast our vote, the being said, and we vote for mercy. The chamber went silent. Many turned in shock. The Elthari rarely interfered in council judgments. Their word carried weight beyond numbers. Raltor tilted his head. Elthari, your vote turns the scale. Do you realize what this means? You choose to spare a race that most here see as dangerous. The Elthari's eyes glowed brighter. Yes, for we have lived long and we have seen many civilizations rise and fall. We know that legends are not forged by safety. They are born from struggle, from chance, from the fire of choice. Humanity may be reckless, but they carry a spark we recognize. To destroy them now would be to deny the galaxy a story not yet written. Gasps filled the chamber. Some were outraged, others bewildered, but the rule of the council was absolute. The vote stood. Humanity would live. Elena could not breathe for a moment. Relief and disbelief crashed over her like a wave. She bowed deeply, struggling to hold back tears. On behalf of Earth, we thank you. We will not forget this mercy. The Elthari inclined their head, their silver form glinting. See that you do not. When humanity's delegation returned to Earth, the world listened to the news in stunned silence. For once, there was no division, no border, no nation claiming victory over another. Every human, no matter their origin, understood the same truth. They had been given a second chance. The near destruction united them like nothing before. Leaders who once fought over resources now spoke of shared destiny. Scientists from rival nations worked together, building new ships, new medicines, new dreams. In classrooms across Earth, children learned not only the names of their heroes on Earth, but also of the Elthari, those who had spared them when all others wished for their end. Humanity promised never to forget. Yet even in their gratitude, a quiet fire began to burn. Humanity knew the galaxy did not trust them. They had been spared but watched, respected by few, distrusted by many. If they wanted to survive among the stars, they would need to prove themselves, not with words but with deeds. Far away, within their own worlds, the Elthari counselors watched silently. One of them turned to another. "They will remember this day." "Yes," the other replied. "And one day so will the galaxy." The decision was made. Humanity lived, and the first chapter of a legend had begun. The years after the Council's decision were unlike anything Earth had ever seen. For the first time in its history, humanity had no choice but to see itself as one people, one world, one fragile species standing before the vastness of the stars. The warning of the Galactic Council echoed in every leader's mind. You have been spared, but you are watched. No one forgot. Not for a single day. The dawn of Unity Ambassador Elena Marquez returned home to a changed planet. Crowds welcomed her as though she had brought back the very sun. Children carried flowers, and old men wept openly in relief. But Elena never let the celebration take her too far. She knew the truth. Humanity had not been saved because of their own strength, but because of mercy. Mercy from strangers who owed them nothing. At the United Earth Assembly in Geneva, the world's leaders gathered beneath one flag, the blue circle of Earth. Old rivalries had not vanished, but they had grown smaller before the shadow of what nearly happened. President Musa of the African Federation spoke with clear conviction. "We came close to losing everything. We were spared but not trusted. We cannot waste this chance. From this day, let us act as one world, not many." A ripple of agreement spread. Slowly, agreements were signed. Nations pooled their resources. A global space program was born, not in competition but in cooperation. The Great Effort. In the next 2 decades, Earth changed faster than ever before. Vast orbital shipyards glittered above the planet. Moon bases grew from small outposts into cities. Mars, once a dream in dusty textbooks, became a colony under a shimmering dome. Young men and women from every corner of Earth joined the United Stellar Fleet, the first true military and exploratory force of the human race. Their mission was not only to defend Earth, but also to reach out, explore, and show the galaxy that humanity could stand with honor. In schools, children learned the story of the Elthari, the race who had saved them from destruction. Teachers repeated the words spoken at the council. Legends are not forged by safety, but by struggle. The phrase became a motto, painted on walls, whispered in speeches, etched into songs. The galaxy watches, yet while Earth advanced, the galaxy remained wary. On distant worlds, humans were seen as newcomers who did not belong. In trading ports, merchants muttered about the dangerous primates. Some races refused to sell advanced technology to humans, claiming they could not be trusted. When human fleets entered neutral systems, many alien commanders watched closely, fingers hovering near their weapons. The Serene Confederacy, who had once argued against humanity's survival, issued a warning. Do not mistake mercy for trust. If you cause trouble in this galaxy, the Council will not save you again. And still rumors spread. Some whispered that the humans were preparing secret weapons. Others said they had ambitions to conquer weaker worlds. Suspicion followed them everywhere, but humanity endured. They had learned long ago how to live under suspicion, how to rise from low expectations. The first contact of kindness. It was during this period that humanity made its first true allies. On the edge of Council space, a small farming world of the Neri suffered a disaster. A solar storm destroyed their crops and poisoned their water supplies. Their pleas for help reached the Council, but larger powers hesitated. The Neri were not politically important and aid would be costly. Humanity, however, did not hesitate. The United Stellar Fleet dispatched 3 colony ships loaded with food, medicine, and water purification systems. Volunteers worked side by side with the Neri, teaching them to rebuild their farms and shelters. At first, the Nerai were nervous. They had heard the same stories as others, that humans were reckless, violent, and selfish. But the men and women who arrived were nothing like the rumors. They smiled, shared meals, and even laughed with children while repairing broken homes. One old Nerai farmer said, "They are strange, these humans. They are loud, they sing while they work, and they never give up. Perhaps the galaxy judged them too soon. When the humans departed, they left behind not only tools but friendship." For the first time, a new voice spoke in defense of Earth at the council, the Nerai ambassador. "They came when no one else would," he declared. "Perhaps the humans are not what we feared. Perhaps they are what we need," the whisper of fear. But not everyone was pleased. In hidden halls, powerful species muttered that sparing Earth had been a mistake. The humans were growing too quickly, expanding too far, building ships with alarming speed. Admiral Zarth of the reptilian Drakon Empire sneered as he studied reports of human fleets. "They rise too fast. They will be a storm. Mark my words, the Elthari's mercy will burn us all." Even within the council, debates began again. Some wanted to place restrictions on Earth's expansion, to cage their growth before it became dangerous. Others argued that the humans deserved a fair chance. The Elthari remained silent. They watched. They waited. The inner fire on Earth. Humanity heard the rumors but did not stop. They built faster engines, stronger ships, more advanced medicines. They poured their spirit into exploration, charting regions of space others had ignored. Captain Arjun Patel of the Unity's Light, one of the first human deep space explorers, spoke words that became famous. "We are not here to conquer. We are not here to destroy. We are here to prove that mercy was not wasted." Those words were broadcast across Earth and echoed into the stars. But beneath the surface, there was also steel in humanity's heart. They remembered how close they had come to annihilation. They remembered the red votes, the voices calling for their extinction. Gratitude lived beside determination, and determination walked hand in hand with resolve. They would never again allow themselves to stand helpless before the judgment of others. A quiet warning one evening, as Earth celebrated the 50th anniversary of the Council vote, Ambassador Elena Marquez, now older, her hair silver, stood before a gathering in Geneva. She raised her voice so all could hear, her words broadcast to colonies across the stars. 50 years ago, our world was spared. We were not spared because of our power, but because of mercy. Mercy is a gift. Mercy is a responsibility. We cannot forget this, and we cannot waste it. Her eyes narrowed slightly, her voice steady. But let the galaxy also know this truth. Humanity remembers. We remember every kindness. We remember every hand that reached out to lift us. And we remember every voice that called for our end. We carry memory as others carry weapons. And one day the galaxy will see what that means. The crowd erupted in cheers. But in distant chambers of alien worlds, those words spread like fire. Some found comfort in them. Others felt only fear. The watchers far away, the Elthari, watched humanity's progress with quiet interest. They had gambled when they cast their vote for mercy. Now they saw the fire spreading. "They rise quickly," said one Elthari elder, their voice like a soft song. "Yes," replied another. "The others whisper fear, but we see what they do not. Humanity carries a weight most cannot bear, the memory of nearly being erased. That memory will shape them into something greater." The elder's eyes glowed with starlight. "And when the time comes, it will not be we who remember this day, it will be the galaxy." Humanity continued to rise. Not yet trusted, not yet loved, but no longer ignored. Their story was only beginning, and already the first seeds of legend had been sown. 50 years had passed since the day the Council chose mercy. Humanity had risen step by step, building ships, colonies, and hope. They had made friends in small places, earned suspicion in greater ones, and carved a place for themselves among the stars. But history has a way of testing those who carry ambition. And soon humanity would face a trial that would either destroy them or prove them worthy of legend. The shadow at the edge beyond the territories of the Council lay the Cracks' dominion, a power feared across the galaxy. The Cracks were ruthless conquerors, tall and armored, with sharp voices and sharper blades. Their empire was built on the suffering of weaker worlds. Where they marched, fire followed. For decades, the Cracks had avoided direct conflict with the Council. But they grew stronger in the shadows, swallowing smaller systems one by one. Their raids bled border colonies dry, and now their gaze turned toward a quiet system, a world of farmers, dreamers, and small trade routes. That world was Nerai, the very planet humanity had once saved with food and medicine. The plea for help. The Nerai were not strong. Their fleets were little more than civilian ships with weapons bolted on. When the Cracks warships appeared at their borders, the Nerai panicked. They sent messages to the Council, begging for protection. But the Council moved slowly, their debates endless, their decisions cautious. By the time votes were counted, the Cracks had already taken 3 Nerai moons. In desperation, the Nerai turned to their only true friends. They called for the humans, the Council's warning. When word reached Earth, the United Stellar Fleet held a council of its own. Admirals, ambassadors, and leaders debated fiercely. Admiral Khan, his voice strong, declared, "If the Cracks take Nerai, they will not stop. They will keep moving, swallowing world after world. We cannot let this stand." Others were cautious. General Lin argued, "The Council has not authorized intervention. If we fight without approval, we risk angering them. We are still under suspicion. They may see this as proof that we are reckless." But Ambassador Elena Marquez, now frail with age yet still sharp in mind, spoke words that silenced the chamber. "The Council spared us because they believed we carried a spark. What good is that spark if we hide it? Mercy was not given so we could sit quietly. Mercy was given so we could rise. If we turn our backs on the Nerai now, we will prove the doubters right. We must act, not for conquest but for honor." The room erupted in applause. The decision was made. Humanity would fight. The first engagement, the United Stellar Fleet launched its largest mission yet. Dozens of ships, sleek and untested in true war, jumped into Nerai space. Their hulls bore the blue circle of Earth, a symbol now recognized across the stars. At first, the Nerai could hardly believe it. Against the overwhelming Cracks, the humans seemed too small, too few. But when the Cracks warships attacked, humanity answered with fire. The battle was fierce. Crack ships were larger, their weapons heavier. Human vessels, however, were fast, clever, and coordinated. Pilots executed daring maneuvers. Engineers pushed their engines to the edge, and captains used tactics the Cracks had never seen before. One human ship, the Unity's light, dove straight through enemy fire, drawing the Cracks away from the Nerai fleet. Its hull burned, but it survived, striking back with precision. In the end, the Cracks retreated, leaving behind wreckage and rage. Humanity had won its first victory. The galaxy reacts, the news spread like wildfire. In marketplaces and council chambers, whispers turned to astonishment. The humans, those reckless newcomers, had faced the Cracks and survived. Not only survived, but won. Some races were impressed. "Perhaps they are not as dangerous as we thought," one delegate muttered. "Perhaps they are what the galaxy needs against the Dominion." Others were alarmed. "This is exactly what we feared," said the Drakon Admiral Zarth. "See how quickly they leap into war? They will not stop here." The Council was divided, but the fact could not be denied. Humanity had acted when others hesitated. And in doing so, they had saved an ally. The fire spreads the Cracks Dominion, humiliated, did not remain silent. Weeks later, they returned with a greater fleet, determined to crush the humans who dared to defy them. The second battle was harder. Human ships were outnumbered 3-1. Hulls cracked, crews fought desperately to keep systems running, and every victory came at heavy cost. But the humans fought with a kind of stubborn courage the Cracks had never seen. They refused to retreat, refused to surrender. Even when ships were damaged beyond repair, their crews turned them into weapons, ramming Cracks vessels in final defiance. The Nerai joined the battle as well, inspired by their allies. Farmers took up arms, miners flew cargo ships turned into bombers, and children carried messages between bunkers. Together, with humanity at their side, they held. The Cracks withdrew once more, their pride wounded, their fury burning hotter. The turning point on Earth. The losses weighed heavily. Thousands of lives had been given. Families wept and the world grieved. Yet in that grief, unity grew stronger. Volunteers lined up to join the fleet. Engineers worked day and night to build better ships. Doctors studied alien wounds and learned faster ways to heal. For the first time, humanity understood what it meant to fight not for survival alone, but for others. not for themselves, but for allies who had once been strangers. And across the stars, whispers began to shift. The humans fight not because they must, but because they choose to. Who else among us does this? The warning of the Elthari and the Council, debates raged. Should humanity be punished for acting without approval, or praised for their courage? Finally, the Elthari spoke again, their silver forms glowing like dawn. Do you not see, they said. We spared them because we knew this day would come. While others hesitated, they acted. They bleed, yet they do not falter. This is the legend we foresaw, and it is only beginning. Their words silenced the chamber. None dared challenge the Elthari. A new flame on Nerai, humanity was hailed as saviors. Songs were sung of their bravery, stories told of their sacrifice. Children painted the blue circle on walls, calling it the mark of hope. Back on Earth, Admiral Khan addressed the fleet. We have been tested by fire, and though it has scarred us, it has not broken us. From this day forward, let the galaxy know. Humanity does not forget kindness, and we do not abandon friends. We were spared once, and now we prove why. The fleet thundered with cheers. The enemy's vow far away, in the dark halls of the Crack's dominion, warlords gathered. Their leader, clad in armor as black as space, slammed his blade against the ground. These humans dare to defy us. They will learn fear. They will learn pain. We will not rest until their worlds burn. The Cracks prepared for full war. The legend grows. Humanity had passed its first great trial. They had faced the fire and emerged stronger. They were no longer only the race that had been spared. They were now the race that fought when no one else would. And in the quiet halls of the Elthari, a single phrase was spoken once more. Legends are not forged by safety. They are born from struggle. The galaxy had seen the spark. Now it would see the flame. The Crack's dominion had tasted defeat, and they hated it. Their pride had been shattered by a species they had once considered weak, almost insignificant. And now, with fleets twice the size of any Earth force, they returned to impose their fury upon the galaxy. Humanity knew this day would come. They had trained for it, planned for it, and waited for it. Yet even with preparation, the looming storm sent ripples of tension across every colony, every ship, every home on Earth. The Council hesitates. In the Council chamber, debate raged. Many species argued against intervening further, claiming that humanity's boldness had brought this on themselves. A Drakon general spoke with a hiss. They have grown too fast. Their recklessness has invited this storm. Let them face it alone. Others, remembering the courage humanity had shown, argued for support. The Nerai ambassador rose, voice trembling but firm. The humans saved us when no one else would. They are the only reason we still have a home. To abandon them now would be unforgivable. But the vote stalled. Old fears lingered, old prejudices whispered caution. No decision came. Humanity once again could rely only on themselves. The United Fleet prepares on Earth. Preparations accelerated. The United Stellar Fleet grew to unprecedented size. Engineers, scientists, pilots, and volunteers poured their energy into building ships, improving engines, and developing new defensive technologies. Captain Arjun Patel, now a seasoned leader of one of the largest fleets, addressed his crew aboard the flagship Unity's Light. Tomorrow we face an enemy unlike any we have fought. They are stronger, smarter, and more relentless. But we have something they do not: the courage to act, the will to protect, and the bond of unity. We fight not for conquest, but for every world that cannot defend itself. Remember that, and fight with honor. The crew cheered, their voices echoing across the ship, across fleets, across colonies. The first strike, the Cracks launched their assault at multiple human colonies simultaneously. Planetary defenses were bombarded with energy beams, orbital stations destroyed, and supply lines cut. Human commanders acted quickly. Fleets deployed in coordinated waves using advanced tactics to minimize losses. While the Cracks had numbers and firepower, humans had strategy, speed, and unshakable determination. At the Battle of Orion's Gate, one human fleet, outnumbered 5-1, executed a daring maneuver. They lured Crack ships into a narrow asteroid field, where the larger vessels could not maneuver effectively. Using smaller, faster ships, humans struck with precision, crippling the enemy fleet and turning the battle into a victory against overwhelming odds. News of the success spread instantly. Humanity was no longer merely a rising species. They were a force that even the Dominion feared. the toll of war yet. The victories came at a cost. Thousands of human lives were lost, entire fleets reduced to debris, colonies left in ruin, families mourned, cities rebuilt, and grief filled the hearts of those who had survived. Despite the sorrow, the spirit of humanity endured. Every loss became a lesson, every failure a stepping stone. Scientists studied Crack's technology captured from battles, adapting it to human ships. Pilots trained harder, engineers worked longer, and soldiers forged bonds stronger than steel. Even on Earth, children no longer looked up at the stars with only wonder. They looked with resolve, imagining the day they would carry humanity's flag across the galaxy. The Cracks retaliate, frustrated by repeated failures. The Cracks' Dominion devised a new plan. They gathered their forces, combining fleets from conquered systems into a massive armada. Their target, Earth itself. The humans watched as the sky darkened with thousands of ships. Sensors lit up with the sheer scale of the approaching enemy. Many had never seen anything like it. Panic whispered at the edges of every mind, but the leaders stood firm. Admiral Khan addressed the council, which had finally convened to witness the threat. "We will not wait for permission. Humanity will defend itself, and if others wish to join, now is the time. But make no mistake, the fight comes to our home. This is not a drill. This is our reckoning." The council, divided but wary of the Cracks' power, remained largely silent. Humanity could only act. The battle for Earth. The first wave of the Cracks' armada reached Earth's orbit. The skies erupted in light as human defenses engaged. Energy beams clashed with shields, missiles streaked like falling stars, and the deafening roar of war echoed across the planet. Ships of all sizes moved in perfect coordination, executing maneuvers learned from decades of drills. Human pilots flew through impossible odds, risking everything to protect civilians and critical stations. Captain Arjun Patel led the flagship into the heart of the battle. "Hold the line," he shouted. "Do not let fear rule you. Humanity fights for survival, for honor, and for every life we swore to protect." Even the young cadets, some barely old enough to vote on Earth, flew smaller ships with skill and courage that surprised the enemy. They dodged, weaved, and struck with daring precision. The turning point, for days the battle raged. Humanity's defenses strained under the overwhelming numbers. Casualties mounted. Hope wavered. Then, in the midst of chaos, a bold plan emerged. Using a combination of captured Cracks technology and human ingenuity, a fleet would split into two groups. One would act as a decoy, drawing the bulk of the Cracks into a trap. The other would strike at the Armada's command ships. The plan was dangerous. Failure meant annihilation. But humanity had learned the value of risk, the strength of unity, and the power of resolve. The fleet executed the maneuver flawlessly. Cracks ships drawn into the decoy field became vulnerable. Human forces struck at the command vessels, crippling communication and coordination. The Dominion, powerful and proud, began to falter. The aftermath of battle. The Cracks' retreat was not total. Many ships escaped to fight another day. Yet the galaxy had seen something remarkable. Humans had not only defended their home, but had turned the tide against a seemingly unstoppable enemy. Worlds that had doubted humanity before now whispered praise. Allies grew more confident, sending fleets to join in the defense of border colonies. Even some former skeptics in the council began to acknowledge Earth's strength. On Earth, the streets were quiet. Cities lit the night with celebration, but also with remembrance. Memorials honored those lost, from pilots to engineers, soldiers to civilians. Humanity had paid a heavy price, but they had survived. And more than survival, they had proven they could rise to the challenge. The Elthari's observation far away. The Elthari observed with silent satisfaction. "They have faced fire," one elder said, their voice like distant starlight. "And yet they do not burn. They carry the spark we foresaw." Another nodded, eyes glimmering. "This is only the beginning. The galaxy will remember them, not for their mercy, not for their survival, but for the courage to act when others faltered." The Elthari knew that the true test had not yet come. Humanity had faced destruction and danger, yes, but now the galaxy itself would take notice and new challenges awaited. The spirit of humanity on Earth, Admiral Khan addressed the people once more. "We have survived the greatest trial we have ever faced. We have endured loss, we have faced fear, and we have fought against odds no one believed we could survive. And yet we are here, stronger, wiser, and united. The galaxy watches us, and we will show them that humanity does not surrender. We do not abandon our friends, and we do not forget mercy. Let this day be remembered not as a day of fear, but as a day of courage, a day when humanity stood as one. Cheers rose across every colony, every city, every ship. Children looked to the stars not in fear, but with wonder and resolve. Humanity had passed the ultimate test so far, and in doing so had taken one step closer to legend. The Cracks' dominion would return. That was certain. Their anger and pride demanded it. But humanity now understood something else too. Courage, unity, and determination were far more powerful than fear. They had survived against impossible odds, and the galaxy had begun to notice. And somewhere far away the Elthari smiled, knowing the next chapter of humanity's story would be written not by mercy, but by deeds, by choices made in fire, and by the strength of a species that refused to be forgotten. The Cracks' dominion had retreated, their pride shattered, their armadas scattered. Humanity had survived, not only survived, but had stood tall when no one else would, had fought when others hesitated, and had risen from the brink of annihilation to protect not only themselves but the helpless. Across the galaxy, whispers began to circulate. Humans were no longer just a race of the Council's mercy. They were becoming something else entirely, a symbol of courage, resilience, and honor. A world-united Earth, now scarred but stronger, celebrated the survival of its people. Cities illuminated the night, not just with joy, but with remembrance. Monuments were built to honor those lost in the wars against the Cracks. Streets were filled with people singing songs of courage and hope, their voices reaching the stars through messages and broadcasts. Ambassador Elena Marquez, now very old but still sharp, stood before the United Earth Assembly. She addressed the leaders, soldiers, and citizens who had gathered in the Central Hall of Geneva. Decades ago, she said, her voice calm and strong, we were spared when the galaxy judged us too young, too reckless, too fragile. We were given a chance because someone saw a spark in us. Today we do not stand as a race of survivors. We stand as a people who have proven that mercy was not wasted. This is our moment. This is our legacy. And it is only the beginning. Her words were met with thunderous applause. Across colonies and ships, humans echoed her speech, repeating the promise. We will honor mercy with courage. We will honor life with strength. Allies and recognition, the Nurai, once a small world of farmers, now stood proudly as one of humanity's first allies. Their fleets had been rebuilt, stronger than ever, trained by human instructors. When the Council finally convened to formally recognize humanity's actions, the Nurai ambassador spoke first. They came when we were helpless. They fought when we feared. They did not act for glory or gain, but because it was right. Humanity carries within it a light the galaxy should follow. Other civilizations followed suit. Some who had doubted humanity before now offered support, sending diplomats, traders, and fleets. Even the Serene Confederacy, once wary of human recklessness, sent envoys to establish formal relations. The Council, seeing the courage, unity, and selflessness of humanity, voted unanimously to recognize Earth as a fully respected member of interstellar society. No longer was humanity merely a species that had been spared. They were a species that had earned respect. The Cracks' threat remains, yet even as celebrations filled human worlds, the Cracks' dominion simmered in the darkness. Their pride had been wounded, but their ambition remained. Admiral Zarth, furious and bitter, slammed his clawed hand against the council table of the Cracks' empire. We will not forget this humiliation. Humanity grows too fast, too strong, and too defiant. They will not be allowed to rise further without consequences. And so, the galaxy remained cautious. Humanity's rise had earned them allies, but also attention and envy. But for the first time, humans were no longer afraid. They had faced a powerful enemy, survived impossible odds, and proven that they could act not only for themselves, but for others. A moment of reflection on the quiet hills of Earth, Captain Arjun Patel walked beneath the stars. The wars had left their mark, but they had also left hope. He looked at the blue glow of the planet's symbol on his chest, a reminder of what they had fought for. He thought of the thousands of pilots, engineers, and civilians who had given everything. He thought of the Nurai, the allies who had learned what humanity truly represented, and he thought of the Elthari whose mercy had started it all. They spared us once, he whispered, and now we have proven that their choice was right. The galaxy will remember, not just for what we fought, but for how we chose to fight. Forging a legend. The true legacy of humanity was not in ships, weapons, or colonies. It was in choice, in courage, in the willingness to act for justice, for mercy, and for others. Across the stars, historians would write of Earth and the humans who rose from near destruction. Scholars would debate their strategies, poets would write songs of their bravery, and children would grow up inspired by their deeds. The Aelthari had once said, "Legends are not forged by safety. They are born from struggle." Humanity had been tested by fire, by loss, and by impossible odds, and they had emerged as a living legend. A galaxy changed. The galaxy had seen a new truth. Strength was not measured solely by weapons or by fleets or by numbers. True strength came from courage in the face of fear, unity in the face of division, and the willingness to stand for what was right even when others would not. Humanity became a beacon for smaller worlds and fledgling civilizations. Where humans went, hope followed. Trade, culture, and diplomacy blossomed. Humans reminded the galaxy that mercy, once granted, could inspire greatness. Even the Crack's dominion, though still dangerous, began to think twice before attacking other civilizations. Humanity's example proved that even a young species could unite, endure, and triumph in ways that were unpredictable and powerful. The Aelthari's satisfaction, far from the battles and celebrations, the Aelthari observed quietly. "They have grown beyond expectation," said one elder, their voice gentle as the light of distant stars. "Yes," replied another. "We saw only a spark when we spared them. Now the flame shines across the galaxy." Humanity is a reminder of what is possible when mercy is paired with courage. Their story will inspire countless generations. And it has only begun. The silver forms of the Aelthari shimmered in approval. For them, the risk of sparing humanity had been worthwhile. They had witnessed the birth of a legend, a future of promise on Earth. In classrooms and homes, children asked questions about the stars. Teachers spoke of the Council, the Cracks, and the Aelthari. But more importantly, they spoke of what humanity had become. "You were almost destroyed," a teacher told her students, "but mercy gave you a chance. And what did you do? You chose to be brave. You chose to protect others. You chose to become a legend. That is the story you carry forward." Across the stars, humans continued their work. They built new ships, explored new worlds, and extended a hand to those in need. Each colony, each fleet, each act of kindness and courage reinforced the truth. Humanity had risen to something far greater than survival. They had risen to legend. The final reflection, Captain. Arjun Patel stood on the bridge of the Unity's light, looking out at the stars that stretched endlessly ahead. The battles had been won, but the journey was far from over. Humanity would continue to face threats, challenges, and tests, yet he felt a deep certainty in his heart. "We were spared once," he said quietly, "and that mercy forged us. But now we carry that story in our actions. Humanity is no longer a child of the stars. We are a legend, and legends endure." Below him, the fleet shimmered in formation, a living testament to courage, unity, and hope. Across the galaxy, humans were remembered, not as a species that had been spared, but as a species that had chosen to rise, to protect, and to inspire. And somewhere, in distant, silent worlds, the Aelthari watched and smiled, knowing that the decision they had made so long ago had changed the course of history forever.